Okay, so are you ready for a deep dive into a case that's going to have you questioning, like, everyone around you? We're looking at the murder of Alyssa Berquette, a
Oh,
young mother killed back in 2020.
yeah.
And it might seem like another true crime story, but trust me, the investigation, like, uncovers a mastermind
Right.
that you wouldn't suspect at first.
And that's what makes this case so compelling. We're diving into a 48 Hours episode
Yeah.
and the companion podcast, Postmortem. Both of them are all about Alyssa's case.
Hmm.
And what initially seemed like an open and shut case, it quickly becomes this like tangled web of manipulation and lies.
Right. And the murder itself, it happened in broad daylight,
Yeah.
right outside Alyssa's workplace in Carrollton, Texas.
Wow.
You'd think a killer would choose a more discreet location.
Absolutely. You would think they would. Yeah.
But that brazen choice, it actually led investigators straight to Alyssa's ex-boyfriend, Andrew Beard,
Yeah.
almost immediately.
Yeah.
But to understand why he did it, we need to go back. We need to look at the relationship between Alyssa and Andrew.
Okay.
They were in this really bitter custody battle over their daughter, Willow,
Yeah.
and things were not good.
Not at all.
And then Andrew started dating Holly Elkins.
Right.
And initially, Alyssa was, kind of optimistic about Holly, believing that maybe she could bring some stability
Right.
to the whole co-parenting situation.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And they were even texting each other,
Mm.
pretty friendly, hinting at like a good co-parenting relationship, at least on the surface.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that's what makes the truth even more disturbing
Yeah.
behind this like facade of friendliness.
Yeah.
Holly's true colors were coming through, especially in her texts with Andrew.
Right.
Her language was just chilling, revealing a personality that was both manipulative and possessive.
Uh-huh.
She constantly put Alyssa down, referring to her as, quote, BM,
Oh, wow.
and pressured Andrew to take action against her. For example, in one exchange, Holly tells Andrew, quote, outside of not wanting some garbage mom pathetic hookup in my life, if I raise Willow with you and we don't work out, I lose a child. Do you get that?
What do you think about that?
It's like she's framing herself as the victim.
Yeah.
The one who's going to lose out
Yeah.
if things with Andrew don't work out.
Yeah, it's a classic manipulation tactic. She's preying on Andrew's emotions.
Right.
And his sense of guilt, making it seem like she's the one at risk.
Exactly.
But not Alyssa.
And Andrew falls for it, replying with, quote, I do, it would be unbearable.
It's scary how easily he accepts her perspective.
It really is. And Holly, she doesn't stop there. She goes on to say, quote, if those things were important to you, you would have brought them up to baby mama on your own, Andrew.
So she's like constantly testing him?
Yeah, it's like this constant test of loyalty,
Yeah.
always questioning his commitment to her cause.
She's creating this dynamic where he constantly feels the need to prove himself to her.
Yeah. Right. And that pressure can really wear someone down,
Absolutely.
making them more susceptible to her influence.
Yeah.
And it's not just talk.
Right.
This manipulation turns into real life schemes.
Wow.
Holly and Andrew actually cooked up these plans to frame Alyssa,
No way.
including a fake drug bust, and even making false 911 calls, accusing Alyssa of reckless driving.
Oh my God.
They were desperate to paint her as an unfit mother.
This is a really serious escalation.
Yeah.
It's not just emotional anymore.
No.
It's strategic and targeted,
Right.
aimed at ruining Alyssa's reputation and putting her custody of Willow in jeopardy.
It's chilling how far someone will go to get what they want.
It is. It's a pattern we see in many cases of intimate partner violence.
Yeah.
The abuser tries to control every aspect of the victim's life,
Right.
using manipulation and fear to maintain that control.
And alongside these schemes, Andrew's behavior was becoming increasingly stalker-like.
No.
He actually put a GPS tracker on Alyssa's car and started showing up at places she frequented,
That's so scary.
making her feel constantly watched.
This shift from emotional manipulation to physical intimidation is a huge red flag.
Yeah.
It shows that things are escalating
Right.
and that the possibility of violence is very real.
Absolutely. Stalking is often a precursor to more serious crimes.
Exactly. It really emphasizes how important it is to recognize these patterns of behavior.
Yeah.
What might start as seemingly harmless manipulation can quickly turn into something much worse.
But before we get into the events leading up to the murder,
Okay.
let's talk more about Holly.
Right.
Despite all this manipulation, she was able to put on this really convincing act of innocence. even
Wow.
fooling experienced investigators.
Yeah, and this is where her manipulation becomes truly disturbing
Right.
when she's questioned by police.
Yeah.
Holly delivers this performance.
Boy.
I mean, it's Oscar-worthy.
Wow.
She feigns distress and denies any involvement in Alyssa's murder.
It's amazing she was so convincing
Right.
that even seasoned detectives believed her at first.
It's incredible. And to really illustrate this, let's hear a clip from Holly's interview with the police.
Okay.
This wasn't included in the 48 Hours episode.
Got it.
Just listen to her language and her demeanor.
Okay.
Here it is.
Okay.
This is Holly talking to the police.
Okay.
Okay, so pay attention to what she says and how she says it.
Okay. Audio clip play, please.
Like, I know what it's like to lose a mom. Anybody losing a mom is not okay with me by any means. And I don't care if I liked her, disliked her, or thought anything about her, because that is not okay. I didn't always have the best relationship with my mom either, but losing a mom is not okay. Audio clip ends us.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even knowing what we know now,
Yeah.
her performance is incredible.
Right.
She sounds heartbroken.
That's what makes her so dangerous. She's a master manipulator. She's
Yeah.
playing on the officer's emotions.
Right.
By mentioning her own tragedy, her mother's suicide, she's trying to deflect suspicion and create this sense of empathy.
It's a really brilliant tactic.
Yeah.
By presenting herself as vulnerable. You know, she's trying to gain their trust.
Exactly.
And lead them away from any evidence that might suggest her involvement.
It plays on our natural instinct to trust people who seem open and vulnerable.
Yeah. It's a reminder that manipulators are often good at hiding their true intentions.
That's for sure.
It's chilling to think about how powerful manipulation can be.
Absolutely. And in this case, Holly's manipulation skills would play a huge role in delaying justice for Alyssa for a long time.
Really sad.
Yeah. Welcome back to our deep dive into the Alyssa Berquette case.
So in part one, we went through the twisted web of manipulation that led to Alyssa's death.
Right.
And we really saw how Holly, you know, driven by her need for control, used Andrew as a pawn in her game.
Yeah. It's pretty messed up.
It makes you think, what kind of person could do something like this?
Yeah, like what was going on in Holly's head? On the surface, she seemed to have it all, you know?
Right, a loving family, successful career.
Yeah.
So what drove her to these extremes?
That's the big question, right?
It doesn't seem like just simple jealousy.
No.
Or a love triangle.
Right. There's something much darker here.
Yeah. So to understand Holly's actions, we have to consider the possibility of a personality disorder.
Like what?
Specifically, narcissistic personality disorder.
Okay.
People with this disorder, they often have this inflated sense of self-importance. They crave admiration and they lack empathy.
So you're saying, like, they don't really care about other people's feelings?
Exactly. And that definitely aligns with some of Holly's behavior.
Like what?
Her manipulation, her need for control, her complete disregard for Alyssa.
Right.
It all points to narcissism.
Yeah, I can see that.
Remember how she kept putting Alyssa down in her texts, calling her BM?
Yeah, that's not cool.
Right. Well, that's a classic tactic for narcissists.
Really?
They devalue others to make themselves feel superior.
Wow, so it wasn't just about getting rid of a rival.
No, she needed to feel like she was better than Alyssa in every way.
That's messed up.
It is. And for someone with NPD, other people are just tools.
Like objects.
Yeah, to be used for their own gain.
So they're incapable of empathy.
Basically, they don't have that capacity for genuine concern for others.
But narcissism alone doesn't explain everything, does it?
No, you're right. It doesn't fully explain the premeditation and the coldness of her actions.
Yeah, this wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment thing.
No, it was carefully planned.
Right.
To really understand this level of cruelty, we have to consider another possibility.
What's that?
And it's even more disturbing.
Okay, I'm listening.
What if Holly actually enjoyed inflicting pain on others?
So you're saying she might be a psychopath?
It's definitely a possibility we can't ignore.
Yeah, I mean, psychopaths lack empathy.
Right.
Remorse, guilt.
They can be charming on the surface.
Yeah.
But they're manipulative. And they often engage in antisocial behavior.
And remember how detached Holly seemed during the trial?
Yeah, like she had no remorse at all.
Exactly. That lack of emotional response, even when faced with the consequences of her actions.
Yeah.
That's a classic sign of psychopathy.
It's important to remember that we're not qualified to diagnose her.
Of course not.
But the patterns of her behavior are definitely concerning.
Absolutely. A real diagnosis would require a professional evaluation.
Right.
But even without a formal diagnosis, it's clear that Holly had this dangerous mix of traits.
Yeah. A lack of empathy, a thirst for control, and a willingness to harm others.
And that combination had a devastating impact on everyone around her.
Yeah, most tragically on Alyssa.
Her murder was a senseless act of violence.
It was, and it was fueled by Holly's twisted desires
Yeah.
and her manipulative skills.
It's scary to think that the people closest to us can sometimes be the most dangerous.
It is. And this case also had a huge impact on Andrew's mother, Let.
Oh, wow.
Imagine finding out your son is involved in a murder, and then realizing the woman you welcomed into your family was behind it all.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking.
Let's experience really shows how these crimes ripple outward.
Yeah.
She was dealing with the horror of her son's actions,
Right.
but also the betrayal of someone she thought was family.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
And her decision to sit with Alyssa's family during the trial, refusing to support Holly.
Wow.
That speaks volumes.
Yeah, that's powerful.
It shows incredible strength and empathy.
Absolutely. Even in the face of tragedy, she chose compassion
Yeah.
and stood with the victim's family.
This case wasn't just about Holly and Alyssa.
Right.
It affected everyone.
The investigators, the lawyers.
Everyone. They had to delve into this darkness,
Yeah.
confronting the brutality of the murder and Holly's manipulation.
It's important to remember the toll these cases take on the people who work on them.
Yeah, they're constantly exposed to the worst of humanity.
Right. It can have a real impact on their mental health.
And of course, we can't forget Willow, the innocent child at the center of this.
Yeah. Her life is forever changed.
It's heartbreaking to think about the pain she'll face as she grows up.
Yeah, it's a heavy burden for a child.
But kids are resilient, especially when they have love and support.
And thankfully, Willow is being raised by Alyssa's mother, Teresa.
Right. She's providing a stable and loving home.
That's good to hear. It's heartwarming to know that despite this tragedy, Willow has family.
It really is. And her story highlights the importance of support
Yeah.
for children who have experienced trauma.
This deep dive has taken us to some dark places.
It has.
It's exposed the destructive power of obsession, manipulation, and violence.
We've explored the psychology behind Holly's actions,
Right.
the impact on everyone involved, and the importance of recognizing warning signs.
Yeah, those red flags.
In part 3, we're going to shift gears a bit.
Okay.
We'll discuss the broader societal implications of this case.
Sounds good.
What can we learn from this tragedy?
Yeah.
And what steps can we take to prevent this from happening again? So we're back for the final part of our look into Alyssa Berquette's case.
We've seen how manipulation and deceit led to this tragic outcome.
And we dove into what might have been going on in Holly's mind.
Now, let's step back, look at the bigger picture. What does this case tell us about society, and what can we learn to prevent something like this from happening again?
Right, because it's easy to think, oh, this is just a one-off, an isolated thing.
Yeah, but the thing is, domestic violence and stalking, they happen more often than we think.
Exactly. It can be hidden,
Mhm.
even in relationships that look normal from the outside.
And the statistics back that up. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men will experience severe physical violence from a partner at some point in their lives.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
And those numbers only reflect physical violence. Emotional abuse and stalking are even more common.
It's a reminder that this can happen to anyone.
It doesn't matter your background or social status, so it's crucial to spot the warning signs early and take action.
If someone you know is going through abuse or harassment, they need to reach out for help.
There are resources out there, hotlines, support groups, legal help.
And it's so important to remember, the victim is never to blame.
Never. The abuser is the one responsible.
This case also shows just how sneaky manipulation can be. Holly was able to fool everyone, even the police.
She built this fake persona that hid her real motives. She manipulated Andrew, she manipulated the police, even her own family.
We need to learn about these tactics that manipulators use. Things like isolating someone, making them feel guilty, making them question their own memories.
Recognizing those red flags can protect us and the people we care about.
It's about trusting your gut. If something feels off in a relationship, it probably is.
You have to speak up, ask questions, don't accept behavior that feels controlling or manipulative.
And then there's the role of technology in all this.
Right. Andrew tracked Alyssa with a GPS tracker. Holly used social media to spread bad stuff about her.
It's crazy how easy it is to track someone, find their information, and spread rumors online.
This makes it harder to fight these issues. We need to educate people about online safety and privacy. Law enforcement and tech companies need to team up to protect people from online harassment and stalking.
Absolutely. And lastly, this case shows how important it is to hold everyone involved accountable.
Yeah, Holly didn't physically kill Alyssa, but her manipulation and incitement led to her death.
Her 2 life sentences send a strong message. Even if you don't commit the crime directly, if you orchestrate it, you'll face the consequences.
It sets a precedent for holding everyone responsible.
So, what are the key takeaways here?
We have to be aware. We need to learn about domestic violence, stalking, and manipulation. If we see something, we need to speak up. Support those who are experiencing abuse.
Alyssa's story, while tragic, can be a turning point. We can learn from it to create a safer world.
This deep dive has taken us to some dark places, but it's also shown the strength of resilience, the importance of empathy, and the fight for justice.
We might never understand why these horrific things happen, but we can learn from them, protect ourselves and others, and work to prevent them in the future.
We can honor Alyssa's memory by fighting for change, supporting victims, and building a world where everyone can live free from fear.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We encourage you to keep learning about these issues. And if you or someone you know needs help, please reach out for support. There are resources available.